Howdy y'all, it's your favorite trainer with a belt buckle. Part 2 on how to pass the ACE CPT in 2022. If you're not familiar with Show Up Fitness, I'm that trainer who's crazy with the belt buckle and giant biceps. Teacher of trainers for over 10 years. Have physical locations, San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Austin. Wrote the book, How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer. Get through this book and then read the book. Lots of interviews from some of the top strength coaches and trainers in the world, and we give you the tools for success. And guess what? It doesn't lie in here, but you're freaking out because you have 800 plus pages that you want to get through and memorize it all, and I don't want you to. I want you to pass this as quickly as you can so you can get hands-on learning and supervised experience. It's crucial to be successful. So we're going to go through this whole thing. Check us out, Show Up Fitness, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, send me a message, bottle of whiskey. I like it all. So just to reiterate, table of contents. Read certain chapters such as 3, 5, the ACSM chart, which we can send you, 7, 9, and 10. We're going to go through today 10 through 16. You do not, I repeat, you do not need to read all of these pages. Don't do it. You're going to waste your time and system overload because they're not going to test you on it. How these companies make their money is that you pass and then you're confused because I didn't have that much on strength and conditioning or nutrition. So then the average person will get more certs. Don't get more certs. More certs do not mean you're a better trainer. Getting your clients results, learning how to assess them, how do you program anatomy, that builds the confidence so then you can build your book of business. We focus at Show Up Fitness with our in-person and online internship is how you can build more streams of revenue. The average trainer quits within a year of getting certified, not when you show up. So let's get through this. Chapter 10, page 391. Grab your cup of whatever's in there and let's get through this. Alrighty, so the IFT, Integrated Fitness Model. We went through the cardio basis, which is like zone 1, which would be your base, 2 would be your fitness, 3 would be your performance. And on the muscular training side, we have another 3 parts, which go hand in hand, cardio and then the resistance training. The base model is going to be functional. Gotta be functional. Movement is number 2, and then load and speed. I can't believe people buy into this shit, but it's okay. So don't train like this. You just got to know what they're going to test you on. So they're going to talk about postural deviations. And if you don't foam roll or stick some weird thing up your ass, you're not a great trainer because everyone needs to do that and stretch. Come on, let's not scare people into moving. Oh, you have upper cross syndrome, you're going to die. No, you're fine. Here's what I stress with posture. If you're like this, you just don't look cool, all right? Before you go into an interview with Equinox Lifetime Crunch, we want to see confidence. So here's a simple test that you can do standing up. Flex your humerus, pronation, horizontally abduct, 90 degrees external rotation, adduct. Who's this guy? He's confident. What's up? I don't want to fight you, but I'm proud. I'm going to go in there and crush this job interview. I have confidence, and I want my clients to be here as well. But also hormonally, this is going to produce more testosterone. Bam! Hopefully I just scared you, because what you would do is come here. That's fight or flight. Cortisol. Internally, through our evolution, we're scared right now. Here, I'm good. I'm going to go out there and tackle today. So I want my clients to be here. And I'm not going to scare them by saying, oh, you have upper cross, lower cross, pronation, distortion. You need a foam roll stretch. No, we're going to get you through what you need to know for the exam. So those are the postural distortions. Don't memorize this. We have in our study guide a complete breakdown of the stuff that you need to know that's going to be shortened or hypertonic, and the other side which can be lengthened or inhibited, and what you need to do to those muscles. So for the most part, when you look at the whole system, starting most distal, that's our feet, you're going to have our gastroc and our soleus. Those are going to be shortened. Moving up the chain, the lateral side, vastus lateralis, is going to be shortened. Your rectus femoris and your psoas, those are flexors, those are going to be shortened. Your pecs and your latissimus dorsi will be shortened. Your upper traps will be shortened. The opposite side, which are going to be lengthened, starting on the most distal, anterior posterior tibialis. Your vastus medialis, which is the teardrop, Forgot to say your adductors, those are going to be shortened as well. The glutes on the outside and the posterior side, those are going to be underactive, which we're going to call inhibited or lengthened. And then the core is going to be inhibited. Your pec minor, your middle and lower trapezius, your rhomboids will be inhibited, and your deep flexors. So like I said earlier, we have a sheet where you can just learn how to correct those according to NASM. So they're going to go over all the postural stuff. What you really need to know is the 5, starting on 398. Deviation 1, subtalar pronation. Pronation, you're holding a cup, supination. So on the hip, you're going to be internally rotating in the transverse plane, internal rotation of the knee, and then you're going to have eversion of the ankle. The opposite is going to be inversion, abduction, external rotation. You can see that on 398. And what the movement is, pronation, and you just roll across that line. For number 2, hip adduction, which is just a hip hike. So if you're to stand on one leg, you're going to rotate in. And you can see on table 10.6, right hip, left hip adduction, and then what is going to be the shift. 3, pelvic tilting, and anterior, posterior. So sitting down, if you want to see my belt buckle, woo, that thing is badass, ain't it? You tuck under, posterior tilt, anterior tilt. It's going to go over the muscles. They're not going to ask you a ton on muscle on anatomy or actions because that's hard shit. And if you fail, they're not going to make a lot of money. So just know the basic muscles and their role when it comes to being lengthened or shortened. Oops. We're going to look at 10.7, which is your pelvic tilt, which I just mentioned. So deviation 4 would be shoulder position and thoracic spine. And then last but not least, that would be, so 4 or 5. Number 5 would be head position. If you're here, that's bad. You're going to die. We got to fix you. Text neck. Oh my God. Don't freak people out. You're fine. Just get stronger. Do some band pull aparts. Do some push-ups properly. Not like a T, like an arrow. Teach your clients to do squats, big toe, little toe, heel on the ground, knees tracking through your toes. When you encourage people how to move properly and use positive words like, great job, there you go, high five, say your client's name, they show up more. Not, ooh, head position's out of whack, you're fucked. Clients don't like that. Don't treat them like cattle. You're just going to poke and prod them. So I don't like any of this shit. Never done any type of drawing of my clients. It's just not applicable to real life scenarios. Static balance, no movement. Dynamic Y balance test, there will be movement. So you can see like on 410, client achieves the maximum score of 45 seconds on the test. That's something they could ask you. You know what ADL is if you don't know what that activity is of daily living. It's a Y balance test. You'll see the lady there standing with one foot in front of her, and then there's 3 checkpoints that you're going to hit in different planes of motion. 10, so 414, looking at the, what do I call this sucker again? McGill's torso. So Dr. McGill, badass practitioner out of Canada. Read his book, Low Back Disorders. Very knowledgeable, awesome professor. This is based off of his testing in the Big McGill 3, which they're going to do the torso endurance test. So you'll see you put the stepper at a 45-degree angle, then you'll remove it, and then they need to, 50 to 60-degree angle, sorry, and they'll need to be able to hold that for X amount of time. So you can read through what the assessment will be for that specific exercise, which is an endurance test. And then you have the lateral side, which is just the side plank, and you can see when your feet are stacked, you're going to be testing more of your gluteus medius, which is the frontal plane, and when they're staggered, it's going to be more your QL. Your QL is your quadratus lumborum. It's a deep underneath your erector spinae muscles. You can see like that's actually a decent photo right there on 417. It's a cadaver image of your multifidi muscles that line the spine, or those would be more type 1 muscle fibers. And then you have the extensor test. Be careful doing these. I wouldn't do these unless my clients specifically had, and I still wouldn't do it that low back. We will do other screens to eliminate lateral flexion, extension tolerance, and so forth. That's a pretty tough thing to do. Just imagine yourself doing 418. you're probably not going to hold that long. It's really testing your erectors, and for a lot of people, they're pretty weak there. So I really want to emphasize the failure portion first. So you do it first, set your clients up. Worst case scenario, something feels bad, teach them how to get out of it. Because in those situations, if they freak out, last thing you want to do is test a client or assess a client and they hurt themselves during this assessment. So this one would be a regression. That would probably be better to do with the extensor one. I've done some stuff like this with the prehab guys, and you can see the flexion, right side, side bridge, and the ratios that they want you to know on 419. Flexibility, just your sagittal plane with your legs straight. You can get to 90 degrees with your leg bent. You should be able to get to 130, and you'll see that here. The Thompson Test, 120 is what they're going to tell you here, 120, 130. It's not going to be like, is it 110, 120, 125, or 130? Those numbers would be very extreme. Is it 30? Is it 70? Is it 90 or 120 or more? So you'll be able to get those answers. Shoulder flexion, you should be able to get to about 170, 180 degrees. Shoulder extension, should be getting to roughly 70 degrees. That's why we don't like to do bench dips. Those are probably the dumbest exercise in the world, because you're bringing your glenohumeral joint and the humerus past 70. You're bringing it to 90 plus. Wrecking havoc on that shoulder joint. So don't do that exercise. I would do, like on 422, this is essentially how I would screen people with low back pain. I like doing that one just to see where there's pain, watch their face. And if my client's real hesitant, then I want to avoid any type of anti-rotation or lateral flexion exercises during the workouts. Those range of motions, so everything I just talked about, you can see those range of motions on 422. That wouldn't be bad to have those on the flash drive. Thompson Test is going to be for the flexors and the psoas, and the hamstring will be your passive straight leg test, and that's going to be testing your hamstrings, tight hamstrings, which is dumb, but that's okay. So if you look at 10-15, tightness, so if you can't get here, your lats are tight. Your lats extend, they die hard, they do 7 things. They're not going to test you on what they do, but they extend backwards. So if you can't get forward into flexion, they're restricting that. That's all you really need to know. And so for the Thompson Test, it's going to be your psoas. That's what you need to know for these tests. That's it. Your lats are tight, your psoas is tight, and you'll be good. And we are good on this chapter. Push-up stabilization. Nah, you're good. Anytime you have scapular winging, that answer would be your serratus anterior. Valsalva maneuvers, holding your breath, your pooping muscles. You close your glottis, which is a little flapper in your throat. You have air that comes up, and so then you create this fluid ball in your stomach. It actually lowers your blood pressure in your vagal nerve, due to your vagal nerve. And that's just a mechanism. It's not bad or good. There's people who have maybe high blood pressure. You want to avoid that. You want to make sure you're breathing eccentrically, concentrically on like a push-up. And you just want to increase by 5 to 10% when we are progressively overloading. These ratios on 1026, they may ask you one question, 555. That's your chart for repetition. So 1 rep is 100, 5 reps would be 85, 87, 10 reps would be 75, 12 will be 70, 15, 65. So you'll see that chart right there. It's good to know just for terminology in the gym. And if you're ever reading a journal, these are journal articles that I have back here from the NSCA, and they may say subjects performed 3 reps at 85%. So 85% is roughly 5 reps, but they did it 3 times. So maybe they're looking at velocity or something there. So that's a good chart to know. Agonist Antagonist, when I do a bicep, that sucker's hard. Wow. When you flex the elbow concentrically with a load, that's going to be your agonist. The opposite would be your antagonist. Right now, in a seated position, my psoas is the agonist at the hip. My glutes are the antagonist. At my knee, I'm flexed. Therefore, my hamstrings are the agonist. The quads would be the antagonist. It's just the opposite. The ratios, no shoulder flexion, they like 2 to 3. In IR, internal external rotation, 3 to 2. And then flexion, extension at the knee, 2 to 3. Everything else is going to be 1 to 1. That's all they'd ask you on that. It's good to know the definition of power, force times velocity, or work over time. T-test, just know you're sprinting 10 yards, side shuffling 5, back to middle, back pedal for 10. And that you can see on 460, and that is it. So these next chapters, we're not going to see much. I'm going to chug this double shot of espresso. Woo! Ha! Let's get out of here. after it. Come on. All right, flying through this fast, saving you guys a lot of time. You're welcome, saving you time and money because time is money. So then you can get out there and start training people. I'll put them through these fast because we've already talked a lot about this with like HIIT and cardio stuff. Not going to ask you a lot on, nope. These are just examples of certain exercises. If you didn't know like what a quadruped position is, you'll see that on 478, some cat-cow, 479, how you would and why you would be doing that. The difference between ballistic, that's more of a bouncing. So this would be like touching my toes fast versus dynamic, will be just coming across like a sport-specific stretch. And then we have PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. And then we got our infamous foam rolling. You gotta foam roll for 30 to 60 seconds or else you will die. Foam rolling, I actually don't mind it. I do it to build a rapport with my clients, but it doesn't really do much. It's more of a, what we're looking for, a placebo effect, because people are telling you, like, oh, you're tight, you're doing this, it's gonna help you. You calm the brain down. If you calm the nervous system down, anything will pretty much work. So just know your balance, regressions and regressions and progressions. Don't do this balance shit with your clients. Strength will help with balance. People don't realize that. And so it's all flashy. You put someone on it, you do this, get on an Eric's pad and stand on one leg, you're gonna fucking fall over. It doesn't mean that by doing that more, you're improving your balance. The first adaptation, the acute adaptation to any type of movement and resistance training is neurological adaptation. So you can stand on one leg and with your knee at 90 degrees for 5 seconds. Wait 10 seconds and do it again. You will do it longer. So that's what happens with any type of stress to the system. It adapts. So you literally can have any device and it's going to improve. So are they improving because of the device or just because of the stress to the system and the system adapts? The body, our bodies, the organisms are amazing. You don't need to scare the shit out of your clients. If you're in therapy, it's a different scenario, but we're not therapists. Contraindication just means you should not be doing that. Plyos, they're not going to ask you much on this. Just know the regressions and progressions on 495. They want you to go and get their cert for sports. Stress shortening cycle. The only difference between the stress shortening cycle and a regular muscle action spectrum is you have concentric, you have eccentric, then when you pause, it's isometric. So when you do a plyo, you load your arms back, eccentric, and then you have a quick amortization phase. So there's no isometric. You do not pause. You come up as quickly as you can concentrically. Eccentric, amortization, concentric. That's all you need to know about plyos. The progressions on 497 are good, and then on 498, just the rep ranges. So for beginners, 80 to 100 ground contacts per session. I wouldn't be doing a lot of, I would never do any time. Jumping for 30 seconds, that's stupid. As a strength coach who teaches from the CSCS, which is really the gold standard of physiology and movement, that's where they will take information and dilute it. But you know, they're not going to ask you a bunch on this stuff because, again, they want you to go get their next cert, but they're not going to test you on. Just know what periodization is. You have micro, think of a micro machine as small. This is 509. Meso would be month, and then macro would be your big picture. So periodization is just changing up the variables. That's how Milo got all jacked. Because on day one, the cow was, say, X pounds, 100 pounds. He walked up there and came back. On day 10, the cow was now 110 pounds. He walked up there and came back. The load increased, the intensity, VFI, king for hypertrophy, volume, frequency, intensity. Those things are all improving by doing it regularly. So with linear periodization versus undulating periodization, linear being 3x10 this whole week or this whole block, and then next month I would increase, or next week. With undulating, you would change it either per day, which is called DUP, daily undulating periodization. So exercise 1, you're doing 3x6, 2, 3x10, 3, 3x15. That's how I prefer to do programming is DUP. Undulating would just be day 1 would be 10 reps, day 2 would be 15 reps. So that would be different per day or per week. And those are some examples. Not the best programming ACE has, but that's my opinion. But who am I? I have a belt buckle and giant fucking arms. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, so you're looking at just some T-spine stuff, mobility. These are great exercises to take a look at, and a good challenge for you to just go through this. So for example, 538, when your client's doing a, that's a bad example. Your client's doing another bad example. Let's go with leg press, 537. Can you tell me the agonist? So it's primarily knee dominant, it's the quads. When you're doing a single arm military press, what's the main muscle work in your delta? Or the synergist would be your triceps. Scapula would be upwardly rotating. They're not going to ask you on the actions, just the main mover, maybe plane of motion. So plane of motion, anything here, frontal, here, sagittal, rotation will be transverse. Not going to ask you much on chapter 11. More exercises that you can flip through. 12, obesity, just know what it is when it comes to BMI, 30 and above. The difference between some hormones they may ask you about. Leptin is the hunger hormone, which is accidentally discovered, which is pretty neat. Fat Albert, type it in online, you got this fat little rat, and he was type 2 diabetic, so his cells didn't recognize insulin, so that's what type 2 diabetes is, insulin resistant. And so scientists also found that they're leptin resistant. So ghrelin is the hormone for hunger, leptin is the opposite. They're antagonistic, they're opposite. So leptin tells you when you're full. So if your body doesn't recognize when you're full, you just keep on eating. And that's the hunger. So leptin deals with satiety, is what they refer to it as. Know the basics, like I just said, for diabetes, body fat. I'm not going to ask you about that. Glycogen is stored glucose. That'll be a random question. That would be good to know. And pretty much, again, self-explanatory here. You're just going to regress a lot. Don't focus a ton on the scale. They may say 1 to 2% of fat loss per week. Focus on caloric restriction, moving more in and out. Refer them out to a dietitian. If it's anything psychological, never go below 1,200 calories. And that's about it for them. Obesity. We have videos online on how to program for obese clients, and we'll show you our programming. A lot of stuff on YouTube on that. Getting into coronary vasculars, we just did a video in class. So we have daily Zoom calls where trainers will bring case examples. I have a client right now with coronary vascular disease. So one of our clients, Katie, our interns, Katie, she has a client who has had 2 stents in her heart and she wanted to know how to program. So we did a Zoom call, posted it on YouTube, and you can follow along, and we'll get into the anatomy, your atriums up top, ventricles, systolic blood pressure, diastolic, the heart, the artery around the heart, the coronary artery. We get a lot more in depth, and then we will design a program so you know what that looks like. Always encourage you to link up with the right doctors so you can build your network. Do know what, like I said earlier, LDL, low density lipoproteins, you want those to be lower. This is all in the ACSM stuff. HDLs should be higher, between 45 to 55. That would be your normal range. Think of healthy for high density lipoproteins. Your cholesterol levels, when they begin to calcify, the endothelial lining is going to build up, think like a dam. And so when blood comes through, normally it's here, but now you have this plaque build up, you get pressure, and you get a pop. We don't want that. We don't want saturated fat being more than 10% of the fat intake, as with sugar. I mentioned that in the last video. And then hypertension, just know what that is. Stroke, ischemic stroke. I'm not gonna ask you stuff on that. FAST, actually they do ask you this on FAST. On 606, know the acronym FAST for your facial drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulties, and when you need to call emergency services. So 606, they may ask you something on that. Well, back pain, nope. So this is a good page to know the percentages: 611, LDL, HDL for dyslipidemia. The ranges on 612, that's what I just mentioned earlier. So 100 for LDL, you want to be less than. Between 45 to 55 would be normal for HDLs. Don't want to be more than 200. All ACSM stuff. Difference between type 1 and type 2, as on 616, more than 90% of diabetics are type 2, which is reversible. And that is asthma. You're going to refer out because it's a pulmonary disease. Bradycardia, less than 60. Tachycardia, greater than 100. Same with bronchitis or emphysema. Those are pulmonary disease. You refer out. Those are high risks. And we are good on chapter 13, osteoporosis. BMD is just bone mineral density. You just need to lift weights to strengthen bones. Same with arthritis. We're not going to ask you about maybe one, maybe max 3 questions from that one. Same with chapter 14, young kids and adults. Same thing. Just make it not the same thing. It's not going to ask you a lot. Keep it fun. That's about all you really need to know for kids. Kids don't sweat as well as adults. That would be like super advanced. Same with like pregnancy. They're not going to ask you anything about that stuff. Skip into chapter 15. Healing injuries, the phases. That's good to know. So 682, inflammation, repair, remodeling, and you can see that on table 15.1. Don't ever act in the capacity of a therapist. I know we get all excited about corrective exercise today. Here's some thought. Don't go spend $600 on a certification. Reach out to a therapist like the prehab guys or people who are on our board of education. Hey, I'd love to network with you, take you out to lunch, pay your hourly rate, and just learn more about injuries. So you pay them your hourly rate. Remember, $600 for a piece of paper and a cert for CES, which is stupid. You go pay someone $200-300, take them to lunch. Now you have a connection. They will refer you clients, and then you ask if you can intern for them. Would it be okay if once a week I came to your facility and observed? 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, use it in that order. Don't talk, just observe. Take great notes, clean up everything above and beyond. They're gonna be like, damn, this trainer is smart and they're super professional. We're gonna send you a bunch of our clients. There you go, you don't have to worry about gaining more clients. Strain is to a muscle, a strain is to a muscle or tendon, a ligament is going to be sprained. ACL is the most common one, anterior cruciate ligament. Cruciate in Latin means cross. Any type of itis is going to be inflammation, as seen on 688. Pain scale. They're not going to ask you a lot on this in nutrition because of the legal aspects. So if they ask you too much on injuries, they're practicing under the umbrella of physical therapy and they would get in big time trouble. So they're not going to ask you much on that stuff. And 80% of your clients will have low back pain, lateral epicondylitis. It should be some elbow stuff. Just get in there with your hand, work with extension flexion. We have some videos on there. Piriformis syndrome, deep 6 external rotator right next to your sciatic nerve. That would be like super, super advanced. ACE is not going to ask you much on this stuff. Flying through it, sprained ankle, nothing. So we're going to be into the last section, which is going to be like the legal guidelines, maybe 5-10 questions. Remember, 150 total questions, 125 would be tested on. So in chapter 16 in the last 2, you might have 5 to 10. Don't need to worry about these, but if you're super neurotic, you can read through this. Different businesses and corporations, you'll see that on 745. Contracts, no. 751, no negligence, certifications. And this is actually just good for you to freak out a little bit and read about the times when trainers were sued. I wish this was brought more to the media attention, so trainers didn't take our job so lightly. I'm certified, I'm just going to start doing stupid shit with my clients. Screen first, learn and ask great questions. Start with the movement pattern, super regressed. Through progressive overload, that's how your clients are going to move and feel better. So it's scary. People die from rhabdomyolysis and jacked up shoulders and knees and everything. So the negligence here is great. Record keeping, typically need to keep records for 4 years, 761. Equipment, where it's going to be separated. AEDs you should keep if there's more than 100 people in your gym. Vitamins and minerals, only RDs can talk about that. It's good to know the difference between bulimia and anorexia, 772. Bulimia is binge and purge. Anorexia is more of a psychological issue, and they just don't eat at all. They won't communicate that with you as well. Your own insurance you should get if you're not in a facility. And that IP, nope. All right, that is it. You guys are now ready to go. Don't flashcard all these glossary terms. Watch our first video, rewatch this one. We're gonna get you through this. Focus the bulk on the assessment, the rep ranges. That's what the majority of this test is gonna be on. If you have any questions, shoot us a DM on Instagram. Comment if you like this on YouTube. Love to hear from you. Most importantly, read the book when you're done. The book is what's going to save you so much time and angst, because more than likely, if I had to bet my life, which I would, after you get certified, you take a picture, you put it on Instagram, and your mind's going, what the fuck do I do now? I don't know how to program. I don't know how to train. I don't have any confidence. Where do I go? You go to an interview, you don't have confidence. They don't hire you. Our industry sucks for setting you up for success. I've been doing this for a long time. We have trainers all throughout our gyms that are successful, confident. If you ever want to come in and intern for a weekend, just check it out. Our internships are 2 months. I guarantee in those 2 months you will learn more than any textbook out there. CSCS, ACE, NASM, all of it together into one. You will learn more in 2 months, absolutely guaranteed. If you can't commit to that, we have seminars that are 2 days. Every month we'll have a seminar. Our goal, and this is what we're doing, is to change the fitness industry by getting people to go through internships, to learn anatomy, programming, to be the fitness professional where you can make this into a career. Have a great day, and remember, favorite trainer with a belt buckle, check it out.